Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to another episode of the Delaware Blue Hens Dynasty here on EA Sports College Football 26. As in today's episode, Delaware has hit another bye week, their second in 3 weeks. And unlike last time where we took a look at recruiting, this week we're going to just take a look around the country, see how things are shaping up in the college football landscape, and kind of go over some mid-season stats, so to speak. So if you're excited for this one, make sure you drop a like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. Currently, the Blue Hens sit 2-3. In last episode, we picked up our first win of the conference slate, which was pretty exciting, beating Western Kentucky 23-13. But obviously, this team still has a lot of work to do if they want to get better, as we are at the bottom. Here's a look at how we stand in the conference currently. We are 1-1. As far as how the conference is shaken up, the only 2-0 conference team right now is New Mexico State, who are 4-1 and 2-0 in the conference. You also have a slew of 1-0 teams, Florida International, who got that one win against us. UTEP, who a lot of people thought would be at the bottom of the conference, are actually 3-2. And then Missouri State is 1-0 with the victory over Western Kentucky to their name. We're obviously going to have a lot of parallels with the Bears in this dynasty because we both came into the FBS at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see how our paths kind of go with each other. Kennesaw State, who's 1 year older than us, they're also 1-0, their only win being in the Conference USA. And then Jacksonville State, who we'll see up next, is 1-0 in conference play as well. Western Kentucky is 1-2. I thought they'd be towards the top. Both their losses are to us and Missouri State, which is interesting. They've lost to the two new teams. Liberty, who I thought was the conference favorite, did not start off on the right foot, losing their first conference game. Middle Tennessee is also 0-1 in the conference, and a couple of 0-2 teams, Sam Houston, and then the winless Louisiana Tech Bulldogs, who we now know is in their final season in the Conference USA, is not off to the best start. And even Sam Houston, they have a negative 118 point differential. That is really bad. As far as the other conferences in the ACC, Clemson leads the pack. A lot of people would expect this. I as well. They are 3-0. But don't sleep on Louisville, who is undefeated thus far. And also Miami, who I think is a lot of other people's favorite to win the ACC. SMU, who went to the playoff last year, is also 1-0. And then Virginia Tech is 2-0 in the ACC as well. And the American Navy is 3-0. I said don't sleep on the midshipmen. I think they are the best military school in the country. They might be the best team in the conference. 116-point differential. They have very exciting skill position players in that option offense. Could be really hard to play against. Memphis is also 2-0 in the conference. North Texas is 1-0. USF, my favorites to win the American before the season. They got off to a good start. They've won 3 straight. And then UTSA also and Tulane are all undefeated in the American. In the Big 12, BYU sits atop, the only undefeated team in this conference. Definitely overachieving, in my opinion. I do not have the Cougars sitting at number 6 this late into the season. Utah's also 2-0 in the conference as well. In the Big 10, this is, in my opinion, the toughest conference in football. Penn State leads the way, 5-0, 2-0 in the conference. Ohio State's also 2-0. Then USC's also undefeated, 3-0 in the Big 10 as well, as they sit atop this conference. We saw the Conference USA. As far as independents, Notre Dame is 4-1, and UConn is actually 5-1, and we've seen them this year. In the MAC, Toledo leads the way at 2-0. A couple of undefeated teams here. Buffalo also 2-0 in the MAC, as well as Ohio and Central Michigan. And then you got 1-0 Miami University, who has an upset against Wisconsin to their name this season. In the Mountain West, Boise State coming off a loss to Notre Dame. They sit at the top. Obviously, a lot of these teams are in their final year in the Mountain West. UNLV is 1-0. They will be sticking around, but San Diego State will also be leaving for the Pac-12. And then you got San Jose State, the Spartans, who are also 1-0. Then you got Hawaii, who is 2-0. And then Utah State 1-0 as well. The Pac-2, Washington State is 4-1. Oregon State's 3-3. And then the SEC, 3-0 teams in Georgia and Ole Miss, both 5-0 as well. But then you also have the best team in the country right now in Texas, gearing up for a huge Red River rivalry matchup against Oklahoma, as one of those teams will leave with their first loss of the season. And they got Missouri, who lost 2 non-conference games, but did beat South Carolina to start off 1-0 in conference play. And then finally, the Sun Belts. You have a couple of undefeated teams here. Texas State, who we now know will leave for the Pac-12 at the end of the year. Our rivals in James Madison, they're 2-0. Marshall's 1-0, as well as Old Dominion and Southern Miss and Troy. But the Sun Belt actually does it by divisions. And in the East, it is James Madison sitting at the top. And in the West, it is currently Texas State. So let's look at what the conferences are looking like. We'll go through stats for this team to see how we are doing. Starting off with the quarterback position, Zach Marker is 70% completion, 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. It hasn't been easy for Zach Marker, in my opinion. He's struggled a little bit. He's dealt a lot with injuries, though, and I think that bye week refreshened him up. At one point we thought maybe he'd get benched, and then he threw for 300-plus yards against Western Kentucky and led us to victory. He is a senior, so he'll be leaving at the end of the year. If he does stick around, Blake Brown will probably be the starter next year, and I feel pretty confident in Brown. He's looked good in reserve roles this year, 68% completion, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Actually led that comeback against Florida International before we lost that game. In the rushing game, it is Saheed St. Fleur who leads the way with 169 yards and 3 touchdowns. It has not been the best running season for us. We've kind of struggled in this regard. Oliver Red got a lot of snaps while Silver was hurt. He has the best average at 6.3 yards per carry. But then we saw Jonathan Silver return last week, only averaging 4.9. Did not have a good running game last week against Western Kentucky, but he got involved in the passing game. And Zach Marker does have a touchdown on the ground as well. As far as receiving, Jake Fall has been the best receiver for this team. 32 catches, 258 yards, and 2 touchdowns for us. Max Patterson, 18 for 233 and 0 scores. Fortunately, they will both be gone at the end of the year. Jake Burdell, the sophomore tight end, I've liked what I've seen out of him. He's become a reliable threat. 23 catches, 218 yards, and 2 touchdowns. If he sticks around, I'd like to see him have a more focal point of the passing game going into the next year. Silver, 16 catches, 160 yards. 15 of those actually came in the game against Western Kentucky, which is actually not a Delaware record. There were 16 receptions by Justin Long back in 2004. So Silver was actually 1 reception shy of tying a school record. Saheed St. Fleur had 25 for 129. Sean Wilson, 13 grabs for 123 yards out of the slot. Oliver Red had a touchdown to his name as well. Then Nicholas LeBoy got his first catch last week against Western Kentucky, and it was a 15-yard touchdown. The offensive line's been a little shaky this year, I will say. They did a lot better in the Western Kentucky game. Steven Dabrowski has been the best up the middle. He's yet to allow a sack. But Shup's kind of struggled over at right guard, not his natural position, but it should be a seamless fit. And then Roman, O'Neal, and Bros have also had their struggles. On defense, your sack leader or tackle leader right now is Kingsley Royal, the strong safety sophomore with 54. Trainer's been flying around the field as well. He leads the team with 9 tackles for loss. Gavin Mole is also up there as well. Sacks are starting to come around. We got off to a slow start here, but Keyshawn Hunter and Dominic Brogna, 2 big defensive tackles, have 2.5 apiece. Noah Matthews has 2, while Trainer and Blake Matthews have 1.5. Dylan Worley with the sack last week got his first in the season, and then Ethan Sanders and Julius per year both have a half sack each. We got our first interception last week as well. Khalil Ali had the pick off of McIver. Like I said in that game, Ali only started his first game against the Panthers. He was a switch when we decided to switch up the secondary a little bit, and he came in with an interception his second game as a starter. One player we haven't talked about who was not at the top towards the stats was safety KT Say. He has 40 tackles, but I need to see a little bit more out of him. He's our best rated defensive player, and I'd like to see KT Say do a little bit better. Kicking, we are perfect thus far with Nate Reed. Punting has been okay with Josh Cuppett, and then we don't have a special teams return touchdown. As far as the rest of the country, we will take a look at to see who leads the stats out there. Your passing leader currently is Sawyer Robertson of Baylor, the senior, coming on strong towards the end of the season, trying to be a top draft pick this year. 20 touchdowns as well, I think, leads the way, and then 4 interceptions on the season in the Heisman race. You also have Blake Shapen behind him of Mississippi State, and then Kadon Salter of Colorado rounding out the top 3. Cade Klubnik has been a Heisman frontrunner, 1,800 yards, 19 touchdowns, so only 1 interception on the season, a great touchdown to interception ratio, which the best in that regard of actual starters is John Mateer of Oklahoma. 16 touchdowns to not a single interception yet. The interception leader is Gavin Wimsatt of Jacksonville State, who we'll see next week, so that's some encouraging news. Bishop Davenport of South Alabama and Evan Bullock of Louisiana Tech, who we'll also see later in the year, all have 8 interceptions on the season. Your rushing leader right now is Tawee Walker of Cincinnati, 753 yards, firmly taking himself out in front, and he's played one less game than second place Carson Hansen. And in the third spot, you got fullback Alex Texka of Navy, running that option out there. Touchdown leader with 14 already is Jaden Bow of Florida. That is an insane number to see, averaging 99 yards per game. Isaiah Augustafe of South Carolina also has 12, as well as Star Thomas of Tennessee, averaging over 100 yards per game with 108. He has 12. Mekhi Hughes of Oregon has 11, and then Roydell Williams of Florida State, Kevorian Barnes, of TCU, and Damari Alston of Auburn all have 10. Average yards per game leader with 150 is Tawee Walker. That man is running out there in Cincinnati, and then the most 20-plus yards there, he's up there as well. The longest run of the season has been 71 yards for fullback Dylan Carson of Air Force. That is funny to see. The receiving category, your leading receiver is Jamori Macklin of Kentucky. The senior has 690 yards receiving. Second place is Amari Miller of Colorado, followed by Jeremiah Smith of Ohio State. Most receptions on the year with 49 is Mudia Rubin of South Florida. The Bowl is up there. And then most touchdowns on the season with 9 is Cole Wilson of Baylor. And then your average yards per game, Macklin averaging 138. Longest reception of the season, the 92-yard bomb to Ian Strong of Rutgers, who's currently dealing with an injury, it looks like. Blocking, your worst blockers have been Masai King of Akron and Shiaz Pete of Kentucky. And then your defensive leader in tackles is Jordan Kwiatkowski of Central Michigan with 54, followed by Arvell Reese of Ohio State, who's been playing good football this year. Kingsville Royal tied for second. He's got 54, and then Martavius French as well up there. Sack leader with 5.5, Jordan Lawson of Louisiana, and then TJ Bush Jr. of Cal. Seems like the sack number's a little bit down this year. Nobody's really coming on strong. Tackles for a loss leader with 11 is Bush and Deion Crawford of Buffalo. And then the interception leader with 4 is Tyresus Davis of Colorado. As far as kicking, we know our guy's perfect. The worst kicker this year, looks like, has been Abram Murray of Cal, who's 1 for 4. 2 for 6 is Nathan Dibbert of Eastern Michigan. Has there been any receiving touchdowns in the special teams? 3 kick return to Chris Hughes of Louisville, Tyler Brown of Clemson, and Joshua Troop of Kennesaw State. While there has been 1 punt return touchdown, Jared Brown of South Carolina. So that was just a quick little look at what the stats are looking like. Now we'll take ahead and simulate Week 7 and see what happens the rest of the way. So we'll simulate the week, and we get some good news on the recruiting front. 3-star defensive tackle Dalton Doxson has committed, the top guy on our board. The 3-star is now heading to the Delaware Blue Hens. Exciting that we get our first 3-star right here from the state of Delaware. But we're not done. We also get 3-star wide receiver Larry Gash. The 2 3-stars we were targeting, we both get this week in the recruiting cycle. Major get for the Blue Hens. They are the 2 best recruits by far on our board. They're both joined the program, and they should both get immediate playing time. Dalton Doxson, we were able to fully scout considering he's from Delaware, and he looks like a really solid defensive tackle for us. 86 strength, 78 power moves. Hopefully can be a disruptor early for the Blue Hens. Larry Gash, we don't know the full story on him, but it looks pretty good from what we can tell. He's got good catching. The medium route running and the spec catch and the catch in traffic all look good. And he is now heading to Delaware. We also get 1-star wide receiver Tyquan Kennedy from Princeton, New Jersey. So that's a nice little addition as well. And then we also add some more to the board, getting Leonard Tuttle, the edge rusher from Colonial Heights, Virginia, getting a pair there. Tyquan Kennedy's a 1-star. He's more of a gadget player, 5'8", 190. It looks like he has pretty good short route running, though, so I'm excited to see that. Tuttle, he's not really as polished as some of the other guys. We were able to fully scout him this year. And there's nothing that really stands out to me from his game, but at least he's some depth on the defensive line. And we're putting together a pretty solid class here. Here's a look at the commits thus far. 10 of them, 2 3-stars, 3 2-stars, and 5 1-stars, including the 5th best player from the state of Maryland. We are 43rd currently in the country, which is really good. Don't forget, we have a lot of recruiting rules and house rules on our game this year. But one thing I want to notice, Middle Tennessee is the 14th ranked team in the country in recruiting. Middle Tennessee is killing it. They are by far the best group of 5 recruiting thus far this year. As far as the top stories coming out of the bye week, here's a look at the Heisman Trophy race. Jeremiah Love, the running back for Notre Dame, has taken the top spot, and Texas passes the Red River rivalry test. Quintravion Wisner had a good game for the Longhorns. We'll see the score in a little bit. And the big game this week, Tennessee, Alabama, the third week in October. The Vols and the Tide will meet up this week. And then finally, USC undefeated. They'll put that to the test against Notre Dame in another big game. On Wednesday in Conference USA play, Missouri State starts off 2-0. They beat Middle Tennessee this week, 31-10. Good win for the Bears. And then UTEP beats Liberty. I thought this would be the other way around. I thought UTEP was the worst team in the Conference USA and Liberty was the best. Turns out I was wrong. On Thursday, Tulane doubles up East Carolina, putting up 24 on them. And then in the Sun Belt, Southern Miss victorious 42-28. Before we get to Friday, where USF gets a victory in the American over North Texas, and Washington will beat Rutgers in the Big Ten. Starting with a Saturday slate of games, it's UTSA getting an American win over Rice, 27-19. Purdue goes to Minnesota and wins 24-17. And Pittsburgh dominates Florida State 45-31. The Panthers now 5-1. Penn State 66-0 over Northwestern. The Texas is the number 1 team. Penn State is firmly putting themselves at number 2. The I-75 rivalry goes the way of Toledo this year, 41-14, and the Red River rivalry was 42-14. Wasn't even close. The Longhorns are on another level right now than the rest of the country. TCU beats Kansas State 29-14. Oregon's back ranked, beating Indiana this week, despite being 3-3. San Jose State over Wyoming in the Mountain West. We see Central Florida get a rivalry victory over Cincinnati, 35-17. Notre Dame slaughters NC State before their big game against USC this week. Navy stays undefeated and has now entered the rankings, beating Temple 28-10, while USC puts a 51 bomb up on Michigan. They look ready for Notre Dame as well. That's going to be a huge clash. Our rivals James Madison gets another victory. They're 42-35 over Louisiana, and the same score happened in Boulder. Colorado beats Iowa State. Iowa dominates Wisconsin. The Badgers continue to be the weirdest team this season, while Georgia Tech hands Virginia Tech their first ACC loss in their rivalry matchup. Utah loses to Arizona State at home, 33-26, and then SMU will beat Stanford 41-27. Ohio State beats Illinois, doubling them up 42-21 on the road. And Ole Miss stays undefeated, beating Washington State 30-12. Clemson dominates Boston College 42-7 to take home the hardware. Michigan State gets a Big Ten victory over UCLA 34-20. Same thing for Nebraska, 43-8 over Maryland. In the Big 12, Oklahoma State beats Houston by a touchdown, 31-24, and Florida bounces back after losing to Texas, 36-26 against the Aggies. Some action here as Western Michigan is victorious, 39-31 over Ball State. Alabama, before their big game against Tennessee, goes to Columbia, Missouri, and wins 30-21. In Death Valley, LSU wins a close one against South Carolina, 19-14. Marshall puts up 52 on Old Dominion. Kansas with a 1-point victory over Texas Tech, 22-21. A close one and a big win for the Jayhawks. Georgia beats Auburn 17-7. Texas State with a 2-point victory over Troy, 29-27. BYU beats Arizona 31-23 in the Big 12. And Tennessee loses to Arkansas at home. They get upset. Not a good look when you got to play Alabama this week. Hawaii beats Utah State 21-13 in the Mountain West. In the same conference, Boise State re-enters the rankings, putting a beat down on New Mexico. Wake Forest beats Oregon State 38-28, while Charlotte doubles up Army 28-14, and finally UNLV victorious over Air Force 22-17. Here are your players of the week. So Rod Bryant of UAB had 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 against Florida Atlantic and the loss, while Cam Shanks of Arkansas 15 for 172 and 3 scores. Conference USA players of the week are Jericho Washington of Kennesaw State and Kennedy Owen of UTEP. Here's a look at the rankings. I think at this point it's firmly believed who the top 3 teams are. Texas, Penn State, and Georgia are really separating themselves from the pack. As far as the new teams in the rankings, Oregon, Navy, and Boise State will grace the top 25 this week. Some big games coming up. We know Alabama and Tennessee. Georgia, Ole Miss, that was overlooked. That's 2 undefeated teams in the top 5 in the SEC going at it. We'll see if the Rebels are legit. Number 2, Penn State's got to travel to face 16 Iowa and a pesky Hawkeye team. Oklahoma and South Carolina, 2 top 25 SEC schools, and then USC, Notre Dame, a big test for the Trojans. We'll face the Gamecocks this week. We head to Jacksonville State to face the Jacksonville State Gamecocks, who are 2-0 in Conference USA play. We'll see if we can continue our win from the Western Kentucky game and build a little bit of a winning streak in a game, in my opinion, that is a toss-up. I think us and Jacksonville State match up almost identically, and hopefully we can take advantage with a bye week ahead to prepare for this matchup and win our second conference game of the season. That will be in the next episode. But thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you guys for listening to this recap. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you drop that like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.